Good morning, dear students. I'm glad to see you in this early time on the lecture of biochemistry and hope that you will be with me all this time till the end and maybe conspect some interesting information to be directed in the study of catabolism of lipids, mobilization of fats from depot, and beta oxidation of fatty acids. This is the topic of our lecture. Write it and we will go further. Before we will start to talk about catabolism of lipids, it is necessary to remind you the difference between feeds of triacylglycerides in the liver and adipose tissues. I hope that you remember that after uptake of food, chylomicrons will bring the triacylglycerols which have exogenous origin. They are rebuilt from dietary fatty acids and monoacylglycerols that are absorbed in the intestinum, and enterocytes rebuild these triacylglycerols to make them a little bit more similar to our human species-specific fats. And then chylomicrons, together with apoprotein B48, will bring these dietary lipids to the peripheral adipose tissue or partly to the myocytes. Lipoprotein lipase, enzyme which is localized on the endothelia of our blood vessels, will cut these triacylglycerols to glycerol and fatty acids, and they can come inside of the adipocytes where fats again resynthesized, and these mainly already human fats that will be stored in the adipose tissue. So usually dietary lipids we are using only to put them to the depot, not immediately for oxidation, because usually we are in the well-fed state and obtain also together with the food great quantity of glucose that primarily will be oxidized and give us energy. So mobilization of fats from the depot, from the adipose tissues, will be started only when glucose and carbohydrates will be not real fuel for us, maybe after starvation, maybe due to the change in diet, or great physical exertion, prolonged time. You know that glycogen depot in liver is able to stabilize glucose level in the blood during 18-20 hours. Then the gluconeogenesis will be activated also, and partly step by step tissue lipolysis will be activated. For this, we have the special hormone-sensitive lipase that is localized inside of these cells that are storing triacylglycerols. About its activation, we will talk today a little bit further. What about lipids metabolism in liver? What is the greatest difference? Of course, after chylomicrons circulation and delivering of triacylglycerols to peripheral tissue, yes, to mammalia, gland muscles, adipose tissues, remnant chylomicrons will be uptaken by liver, and liver will start to pack everything that chylomicrons brought with the additional apoproteins, with the cholesterol esters, with the phospholipids that are already mainly are endogenously derived. It means synthesized by the hepatocytes de novo. Liver have ability to direct excess of carbohydrates also for the synthesis of lipids, phospholipids, triacylglycerols, cholesterol, and then it secretes very low density lipoproteins, still rich with cholesterol, with the triacylglycerols, that will circulate and exchange with other lipoprotein particles, and finally becomes more and more higher density. It means they will be covered with more and more quantity of lipoproteins that are also synthesized in liver from amino acids. And finally, they will reach these particles high density. It means near only 2% of lipids and everything other are proteins that will even organize reverse cholesterol transport from the extrahepatic tissue. So if we are talking about triacylglycerides, only small quantity of triacylglycerides will be stored in liver, very, very small. Liver must not be fatty because it performs many functions. And due to this, the synthesis of fats in the liver, they must be in balance with phospholipids for the correct formation of lipoprotein particles. So we are not storing in liver fats for supplying of muscles, for example, with fuels or something like this. But of course, liver will help to oxidize lipids in extrahepatic tissue. We will talk about this on this lecture. From what mobilization of triacylglycerol stored in adipose tissue is started? Look to the sequence of events in this process, and of course, if we talk about hormone-sensitive lipase, the starting key must be interaction of hormones with cellular receptor. To stimulate mobilization of triacylglycerols, we have mainly two hormones, adrenaline and glucagon. Glucocorticoids influence this process in different tissues by different ways. Second semester, we will discuss this question. At this moment, let's remember that adrenaline and glucagon counter-insular hormones. When fuels are not available, we cannot obtain energy from carbohydrates, they will secrete it to the blood and interact with membrane receptors. For these hormones, they are peptide and derivative amino acid structure. The permeability of membrane and appearance inside of the cell is not necessary. Receptor is localized on the membrane. Membrane receptor is combined with the special signal mechanism through the change of conformation of proteins with the enzyme adenylate cyclase. And the second position in our cascade is cAMP synthesis by adenylate cyclase. If you remember, cyclic AMP is like allosteric effectors for protein kinase. Protein kinase heterotetramer from two catalytic and two regulatory subunits. Regulatory subunits after interaction with cAMP will dissociate with the catalytic subunits. It means pyruvate kinase, protein kinase, will be activated. Protein kinase, this is the special enzyme for phosphorylation of different proteins, mainly enzymes, but also if you will see our droplet that is stored in adipocyte covered with the special protein, perilipin. And normally this protein is protecting this droplet from the mobilization, from the cleavage. Triacylglycerols nearly without water are stored here, but after activation of protein kinase, this perilipin will be phosphorylated because protein kinase function is phosphorylation of protein. At the same time, hormone-sensitive lipase, which is present in the cell in inactive state, also will be phosphorylated and activated. So the next step is phosphorylation of perilipin and its change of conformation. It stops to protect lipids from oxidation, from cleavage. Active hormone-sensitive lipase, or other name of this enzyme is tisular lipase because it is inside of the tissue, yes? Hormone-sensitive lipase, active, without protection of perilipin, can cut triacylglycerols from the droplet to free fatty acid and glycerol. Glycerol is a water-soluble compound. It will be easily transported by blood if necessary. Fatty acids, long chain fatty acids, must be transported together with blood serum albumin. Several times we will talk about this. So dietary lipids are transported with apoprotein B48 from the intestine to the depot. During mobilization, short chain fatty acids with the number of carbon less than 10 are water soluble and they are swimming with themselves without participation of albumin. Long chain fatty acids are hydrophobic in structure and due to this must be transported with blood serum albumin. Then, with the help of special fatty acid binding proteins, fatty acids go inside of the sites of the oxidation further, for example, to the myocyte, and undergo beta oxidation where acetyl-CoA is formated, citric acid cycle is included, and respiratory chain is working to produce ATP. It's a final stage oxidation of fatty acids. A little bit more simple scheme which we are using during our classes as a task, so put attention. Activation of tissue lipase through CMP formation. Here adenylate cyclase is necessary. Protein kinase converted from inactive state to active. Triacylglycerol lipase, third name for this same enzyme. Triacylglycerol lipase or hormone sensitive lipase or tissue lipase is activated by phosphorylation, and finally triacylglycerols will be cut to diacylglycerols, then to monoacylglycerols, and finally to free glycerol and free fatty acids. Then glycerol will go for oxidation or integration of metabolism in liver mainly, and fatty acids undergo oxidation in the tissue. The same scheme, but significantly more simple. You can use it and create it in the notes to understand how tissue lipase or triacylglycerol lipase or hormone sensitive lipase sensitive to glucagon and adrenaline is activated. Let's go further. During the transport, once more, we need to mention that free fatty acids are transported together with albumin. Albumin is specialized in the transport of some hydrophobic compounds because it has many hydrophobic sites on the surface and can interact also with bilirubin, with some hydrophobic compounds, with antibiotics, and then. So inside of the cells, on the membrane of the cells, the special fatty acid binding protein interact with the free fatty acids, and it will go inside of the cytosol. In the cytosol, at the first step, free fatty acids will be activated, converted to the acyls coenzyme A. About this step, more detailable next slide will be, and only after this, with the help of carnitine shuttle, our fatty acids will go inside of mitochondria. So beta oxidation of long chain fatty acids and short chain fatty acids will be done inside of mitochondria. This acylation, it means combination with coenzyme A for the short chain fatty acids is not necessary. So if number of carbon less than 10, 12, fatty acids can go inside of mitochondria with themselves and only will be converted to acyls one time inside already of matrix of mitochondria. Before undergo of catabolism and also before be included, if for example it's not necessary to resynthesize or to cut these fatty acids, it can be used for the synthesis of human lipids. Anyway, with the special enzyme fatty acyl coenzyme A synthetase or thiokinase, the second name of this enzyme, must be converted to the active form of fatty acid, which is named acyl coenzyme A. For this ATP, of course, necessary magnesium and coenzyme A. Let's remind yourself structure of coenzyme A. It's a big molecule. We won't not do not ask you to learn whole the structure, but opinion about this structure you must have. So let's look once more. It's not so difficult. Adenine is present, but coenzyme A is not named due to adenine. Then ribose, so it's also similar with nucleotide phosphate, 2 phosphoric group here, combined with the 5' atom of ribose, and phosphate, which is combined also to the 3' atom of our ribose. I remind you that the numbers of carbons in carbohydrate that is present in nucleotide or nucleosides, we are accompanying with the sign dash to differ them from the carbons of nitrogen base. Then we can see the residue of pantothenic acid, vitamin-like substance that was suggested as a vitamin in the previous more ancient scientific time, but now we know that it is synthesized. And residue of amino ethiol, it means amino thioalcohol with the free thio group at the end. This free thio group is working like a hook for the residues of acids, and we are asking you to write the structure of coenzyme A very simply as SH coenzyme A. So everything of this we are marking with the coenzyme A and only show especially tail hook of the amino ethantiol to show the place, position where residue of acid will be attached. Note please that the function of coenzyme A is to activate and carry residues of organic acids. Acid in Latin acidum, yes, and reminder, residue of the acid is named acyl. So we can name all the residues bound to the coenzyme A as acyls coenzyme A. If we will know exact name of the acid, residue of which is attached to coenzyme A, we of course can use individual names. It means residue of acetic acid, it will be acetyl coenzyme A. 2 atoms of carbon will be attached to coenzyme A. Residue of succinyl coenzyme A, so dicarboxylic acid also can be attached. Branched fatty acid can be attached to coenzyme A. Long chain fatty acid like palmitic acid, stearic acid, oleic acid, and then. All residues of acids can be attached, and we will name them individually if know the quantity of carbons and quantity of double bonds in this tail that is glued to the coenzyme A, like a tail of big head of kite. I am comparing coenzyme A with the kite head to which we can glue attached tail with different lengths. For example, here 2 atoms of carbon, it's a model of acetyl-CoA, or more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It can be dicarboxylic, for example, glutaryl, and long chain fatty acids like palmityl coenzyme A, stearyl, oleal, and then. Of course, this big kite head will not permeate the membranes, and to transport these tails through the membranes, we will have mainly special carrier systems. So let's write this reaction of activation that we will use before carnitine transport system will transport our tails inside of mitochondria for the oxidation. So this is the formula of fatty acids. Be careful with the especially the second and third atom here. They are illuminated with the red color to show that further step will be beta oxidation. With the help of ATP and enzyme which is named thiokinase, or fatty acyl coenzyme A synthase or palmityl coenzyme A synthase, because more often we will oxidize palmitic acid. These are the same synonyms of the names of the enzymes, will be converted to acyl. What is different? Compare. Here carboxylic group was a total. Here we can see attached coenzyme A. Yes, coenzyme A. For this, big quantity of energy is necessary, and we obtain from ATP 1 molecule of AMP and pyrophosphate, which after this by pyrophosphorylase will be cut to 2 inorganic phosphates. Note please, yes, here we are using energy of 2 macroergic bonds. But in Russian scientific school, traditionally we are calculating -1 per activation of fatty acids. Please put the attention, because your books mainly recommend to take 2 molecules of ATP for activation, and in calculation of final energetic yield, you will make a mistake if we'll calculate -2. All of our tasks, including programmed on the computer, they are directed for the calculation, for the correct calculation with -1 ATP. We are calculating in total quantity of molecules. Same like most of the foreign textbooks recommend to calculate for FADH2 1.5 ATP and 2.5 ATP for NADH2. We are calculating 2 for FAD, 3 for NAD. Already you studied this, you learned this, so please one more attention for the calculation of energetic yield of fatty acid oxidation, activation reaction took 1 ATP for formation of acyl coenzyme A. This reaction you must write. And then we must talk about the carrier of fatty acids inside of mitochondria. Short chain fatty acids, as I told, can cross the mitochondrial membrane with themselves without participation of carnitine and carnitine acyltransferase. Long chain fatty acids require carnitine and work of special transport system, which is named carnitine transporter or carnitine shuttle. This is the structure of carnitine. Look, carboxylic group, alcohol. So this is amino alcohol and amino 3-methyl amino acid at the same moment. Put attention to this 3-methyl group. In biosynthesis of carnitine, the 2 amino acids are participating. It will be important for the learning of the role of lysine and methionine in the second semester, but even now you can look that from lysine, which is derived from the protein, and with the help of active form of methionine, which is S-adenosyl methionine. It's a special active form of methionine. If you remember the structure of amino acids, in methionine we have the additional methyl group on the end, which is combined with other skeleton of the acid with the through the sulfur. So this is sulfur containing information of S-adenosyl methionine. This methyl group becomes mobile and can be given in the reaction, transferase reaction, to something that can accept this methyl group. Finally, from lysine and S-adenosyl methionine, the special trimethyl lysine is formed, and then it is initial for the synthesis of carnitine. Put attention that also iron is necessary for this, vitamin C involved, incorporate into this synthesis of this substance. Lysine, methionine are necessary for the synthesis of carnitine. Carnitine is mainly synthesized in liver and transported to the muscles, because finally more than 95% of carnitine is contained by muscle tissue. But muscles are not synthesizers carnitine, they require participation of liver in this process. Due to this, liver disease can be accompanied with the deficiency of carnitine, and in this case, oxidation of fatty acids will be non-effective, they will be accumulated, and this will cause some problems for the muscles functioning. There are inherited congenital deficiency of carnitine with also muscles weakness, with the degradation of liver cells, and then. We are not studying them in detail because they are rare. But in NOM, you must remember where carnitine is synthesized and in what process it involves. So, for the transport of long fatty acids coenzyme A into mitochondria, we are using carnitine shuttle scheme. We will look a little bit further. Now, write the reactions. Acyl coenzyme A and acyl can react with the carnitine, and with the help of enzyme which is named, and this name is necessary to write very carefully, carnitine acyl transferase. It is possible to name acyl carnitine transferase. It is possible to name palmityl carnitine transferase 1. All of these names are synonyms for these enzymes. But put attention that acyl carnitine transferase 1 is specific for cytosol, site of outer mitochondrial membrane. It is attached to the membrane, but look into the cytosol, and acylcarnitine is formed. Coenzyme A for the short time will be free, and through this alcoholic group, ester bond is formed. Yes, between alcohols and carboxylic group, ester bond is formed. We will obtain acylcarnitine. If this will be palmitate, it will be palmitylcarnitine. If it will be stearate, it will be stearylcarnitine. It depends from the type of fatty acid that is combined here. General name for all of these substances, acylcarnitines. Put attention to the name of enzyme. Indicate, please, that carnitine acyl transferase 1 is the main regulative enzyme for fatty acid oxidation. Because without participation of this enzyme, fatty acid will not come inside of mitochondria, but only in mitochondria we have enzymes for fatty acid oxidation. How does it regulate it? Here you can see the most important regulator for carnitine acyl transferase. Inhibitor of carnitine acyl transferase is malonyl coenzyme A. At this moment, you must not know this substance, but many of you already heard this name. Malonyl coenzyme A, its initial substance for the synthesis of fatty acids from acetyl-CoA. From acetyl-CoA, after carboxylation, we can obtain malonyl-CoA. It is one carboxylic group longer acetyl-CoA when to the methyl we are attaching carboxylic group. And malonyl, after this, can start fatty acid synthesis, which will be done in the cytosol, of course. So, it is necessary to have the ability to switch off oxidation of fatty acids when it is necessary to synthesize them. In opposite manner, we need to switch off synthesis of fatty acids and usage of ATP, spent of ATP, when we need in fatty acids as in fuels, sources of fuel of ATP. So this mechanism very good realized through the malonyl coenzyme A. Malonyl, as I told you, is a product of acetyl-CoA carboxylase, and this enzyme is activated by insulin. So synthesis of fatty acids will be in good fat state with the help of insulin stimulated. Oxidation of fatty acids not directly but through the malonyl absence will be stimulated by adrenaline and glucagon because they will help to mobilize fats from the tissue of the poo. It's easy to remember one real inhibitor for carnitine acyl transferase, it's a malonyl-CoA. So if fatty acids will come inside to the mitochondria, they can be oxidized. If they will not come, after inactivation of carnitine acyltransferase, in this case, transport form acylcarnitine will not be formed and fatty acid will never appear in the matrix of mitochondria. What will be from the site of mitochondrial matrix on the inner membrane of mitochondria? Here in mitochondria we have second type of enzyme, carnityl acyltransferase 2, which after translocation of the acylcarnitine by the special carrier protein translocase will again attach coenzyme A to the acyl of fatty acid. It means R means here long chain from CH2, 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 and then CH3. Carnitine will be free and can return to take another portion of fatty acid inside of mitochondria for the oxidation. Let's look how does it work from the point of view of membranes. Yes, two membranes we have, outer and inner mitochondria membrane from bilayer of phospholipids and proteins that are incorporated. From the cytosol side, carnitine acyltransferase 1, main regulatory enzyme for the beta oxidation. Our acyl coenzyme A reacting with carnitine and form acylcarnitine that after this translocated by the special transporter which is named carnitine acyltranslocase, where it will be attached to the coenzyme A revealed by the carnitine acyltransferase 2. Carnitine can return and acyl coenzyme A will go for further oxidation. More simple scheme, translocase for the transporter and reaction carnitine acyl coenzyme A with acylcarnitine formation carnitine acyltransferase and carnitine acyltransferase 2 reverse acylcarnitine to acyl coenzyme A and free carnitine. Once you can draw the scheme by this way, it is more simple. Let's start to talk about oxidation of fatty acids itself. Fatty acid oxidation is a process that takes place in mitochondria. I mean, in liver, kidney, muscles, adipose tissue, they also can oxidize if energy is necessary, but not in brain. Put attention to this. Our brain is not oxidizing fatty acids. Why? Because long-chain fatty acids cannot pass through hematoencephalic barrier. Also, cells without mitochondria, for example, maturated erythrocytes, they are cells without mitochondria, if you remember, yes? So this pathway will not be served in maturated erythrocytes also due to absence of mitochondria. This is aerobic process. It requires big quantity of oxygen. Oxygen which is necessary for oxidation of fatty acids, a little bit more than for oxidation of glucose. And due to this, sportsmen, athletes, they prefer to block oxidation of fatty acids and supply enough quantity of glucose. Their organisms mainly train it to oxidize carbohydrates. It's oxidative degradation of fatty acids with the resulting production of acetyl-CoA. You know that acetyl-CoA after this can go for further and final oxidation to the citric acid cycle, to the Krebs cycle. And this oxidation, most important events, will be done near second atom, near third atom of fatty acid. Let's look and remind yourself numeration of atoms in the fatty acids. If we are starting from the carboxylic group, from the senior group in the acids, the atom at which the most important events will be done during the beta oxidation will be third. But if we are starting to numerate with the Greek letters, last atom we are naming omega, because Greek alphabet is started from alpha and finishing with omega letter. In this case, the second atom from the senior group will be beta atom, and due to the events near second atom all of the time, all of the process obtained the name beta oxidation, because really these oxidative processes and degradation will be done near beta atom. It's a sequence of reactions that are repeated, and acetyl coenzyme A is cutted from fatty acyl. Acyl becomes shorter, shorter, and shorter till the final production of 2 molecules of acetyl-CoA. So let's start to look through the reaction of beta oxidation. Right, please. The first reaction of beta oxidation, it means after acyl-carnitine will be converted back to the acyl-CoA. The first enzyme that will work with this acyl will be dehydrogenase. So this will be first dehydrogenation in the cycle of beta oxidation. Please, the names of enzymes is easy to remember, is easy to learn. You are naming the substrate. Here it is acyl coenzyme A. It's an active form of fatty acid that must be oxidized. And mechanism of the reaction is dehydrogenation. Dehydrogenation, it means we are taking the hydrogen from the substance. Where from we will take the hydrogen? Here we had 2, and here we had 2. Under the action of acyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase, we will obtain here double bond. These 2 hydrogens will go to FAD. FAD will be reduced to FADH2. Once more. Here we took 1, here we took 1, double bond appeared. FAD is converted to FADH2. In this dehydrogenase reaction, we again have a business with the primary dehydrogenase, that is FAD containing. We saw already such a primary dehydrogenase with FAD. In the citric acid cycle, it was succinate dehydrogenase. So now you know at least 2 examples of primary dehydrogenases that are FAD containing. The third one is from glycerol phosphate shuttle, mitochondrial glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase is also FAD containing. So there are many primary dehydrogenases which are FAD containing. Doesn't matter that most of primary, of course, NAD containing. It's more characteristic to have NAD in the primary dehydrogenases, but sometimes we will see the exception from this rule. What substance did we obtain? It's still coenzyme A attached to something, and this residue of fatty acid, but already non-saturated. This form is named enoyl coenzyme A. Of course, we don't know. Here we are writing reaction in general with R. That means long chain of the fatty acid constructed from SH2, may be saturated, may be non-saturated completely. In general names, it will be conversion of acetyl-CoA to enoyl coenzyme A in the first reaction of dehydrogenation. This is oxidation. Oxidation in our body is equivalent of dehydrogenation because it's a loss of electrons, not direct reaction with oxygen. Let's write the second reaction. Second reaction of beta oxidation is a reaction of hydratation, attachment of water. It will be done by hydratase. What substance we will hydratase? We will hydratase enoyl coenzyme A. From this, we are obtaining the name of enzyme. Enoyl coenzyme A hydratase. Very easy. Where it is possible to attach water to the substance with double bond? Of course, near this double bond. Put attention that OH group will be attached to the beta atom. To the alpha atom, we are attaching hydrogen. What did we obtain? Let's calculate. It's alpha atom, it's beta atom. Beta hydroxy acyl coenzyme A. So you are looking to the substances, and if you know a little bit about chemical nomenclature, nothing is necessary to learn. You will see the names of enzymes and substrates. Immediately you will create them again and again. It's not a poem that is necessary to learn really, word by word. It is possible to understand mechanism of the reactions and exchanges between molecules, and the names of enzymes and substrates will be generated by your brain immediately without any problems. Beta hydroxyacyl coenzyme A after this will undergo the third reaction of beta oxidation, and this is second dehydrogenation. Again, we will take two hydrogens from beta hydroxyacyl CoA with the help of dehydrogenase, but now it is NAD containing dehydrogenase, everything is normal, where we will take hydrogen. Now we will take hydrogen, look, exactly near beta atom. One hydrogen here, one hydrogen here. These hydrogens will be taken and we will obtain double bond but with oxygen. Instead of hydroxy group, we will obtain keta group. Such a mechanism already we saw in glycolysis, in citric acid cycle, no problem. So enzyme will be named beta hydroxyacyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase. It is NAD containing enzyme. NADH2 will be formed in this reaction. And what did we obtain? In beta position now, instead of hydroxy group, keta group. Beta keta acyl coenzyme A. It's still acyls combined, acyl combined to the coenzyme A. So the same name we are bringing through the all beta oxidation. Acyl CoA. Only change the name of this acyl according to the changes near beta atom. Hydroxyacyl, ketacyl. Put attention that NADH2 is formed in this reaction. And fourth reaction of beta oxidation, this is a reaction of tiolytic cleavage or tiolysis. We talked already with you about hydrolysis, cleavage of bond with attachment of water to the two formated molecules. Then about phosphorylasis, degradation of glycogen is accompanied with phosphorylasis, where glucose will be cut as a glucose 1-phosphate. It means phosphoric acid will be attached to the substances, hydrogen to glycogen and residue of phosphate to the glucose during the phosphorylasis of glycogen, breakdown of the glycosidic bond. And now tiolytic reaction. You can see, you can watch to the mechanism. Coenzyme A, new molecule of coenzyme A with TIA group is attached to the residue, to the part, cutted part, which we are cutting from the beta-keta acyl, with the immediate formation of new acyl coenzyme A and acetyl coenzyme A. So, at this moment, it is necessary to remember that all acetyls coenzyme A are acyls, but not all acyls coenzyme A are acetyls. Acetyl, it's a 2-carbon unit, 1, 2. Combine it to the coenzyme A. Acyls, it's a general name for all residues of amino acids which are combined. Here, we started from the non-known number of carbon and mark it as a CN. At this stage, 2 carbon units we are cutting from beta-keta acyl and obtain acetyl coenzyme A. The residual remnant acyl now is shorter on these 2 atoms of carbon. This is tiolytic reaction, and due to this, the name of enzyme is tiolase, or complete correct name acyl coenzyme A acetyl transferase, because it's a transferase reaction. Yes, really, we are taking coenzyme A and attaching to it these cutted 2 carbon units. If you will name long name thiolase, it will be normal, no problem. So it's a final force reaction, after which this shorter acyl must undergo the next cycle of beta oxidation. So thialytic reaction and formation of acetyl coenzyme A. Here you can see the subsequently doing reaction of beta oxidation. First is dehydrogenation, second one hydratation, second dehydrogenation, and thiolysis, which are done by different enzymes. Put attention please that first dehydrogenation will be done by different enzymes for very long chain acids, medium chain acids, and short chain acids. So subsequently dehydrogenation will be done by the group of enzymes but with the same name, dehydrogenases, FAD containing dehydrogenases. I want to put your attention that sometimes there is a disease, inherited deficiency of medium chain fatty acids dehydrogenase, and this is very big problem in neonates, in infants. Why? Because the infants are fed with the help of breast milk, and fats of milk, we told about this, they mainly contain medium chain fatty acids. Our lingual lipase, our gastric lipase, which participate in the lipids digestion in these small children, specialized to the on the cutting of medium chain fatty acids from the triacylglycerols. But sometimes, unfortunately, in deficiency of these enzymes, the usage of fatty acids as a fuels is impossible or significantly decreased in velocity. Milk is the most important food for the child, and due to this, unfortunately, such patients can have periods of severe hypoglycemia. Severe hypoglycemia with loss of consciousness and even sudden death. So there is a big part of cases of sudden neonate death, which is explained especially with this inherited defect, deficiency of medium chain fatty acids dehydrogenase. After formation of acetyl-CoA, acetyl-CoA can go to the citric acid cycle, where it will be oxidized, gives NAD, H2, 3 molecules, 1 molecule of FAD and 1 molecule of GTP due to substrative oxidation. Our reduced coenzyme NADH2 FADH2 will start to participate in process which we know as oxidative phosphorylation. It means synthesis of ATP due to the transport of electrons by respiratory chain enzyme and formation of electrochemical potential. As a result of one turnover, these four reactions, we are splitting off one acetyl-CoA from free fatty acids, from the fatty acids acyl, and each cleavage will bring us one FADH2 and one NADH2. It means cycle of beta oxidation also brings energy, not only acetyl, and each acetyl will go to the citric acid cycle, and there we also can obtain energy. So each time shorter on two atoms of carbon, acyl coenzyme A again undergo for reaction of the splitting, which we are naming cycle of beta oxidation, and produce one acetyl-CoA. The last step, when we are cutting for carbon residues, if it is saturated as butanol, of course, butyl coenzyme A, At last step, we are cutting into the two molecules with two carbon units. These are two acetyl-CoA. And it is understandable that if we are obtaining two atoms of carbon, to calculate how many acetyl-CoA we will obtain from the long chain fatty acids, we need to know how many number of carbons in it. And simply divide it on 2 to understand the quantity of acetyl-CoA. Each turnover will give us one FADH2, one NADH2. And we can calculate energetic yield from fatty acid oxidation by such a way. If N carbons fatty acid is broken down into acetyl-CoA, the quantity of acetyl-CoA will be 2 times less. Number of cycles will be N divided on 2 minus 1. Why minus 1? Because at the last stage we will obtain already 2 acetyl-CoA. If you want to cut, for example, a pen or a pencil to 3 pieces, you will cut 2 times. If you want to obtain 4 pieces, you will cut 3 times. It's understandable in logic because last cutting will lead to 2 pieces. So, if this is the quantity of cycles, we can calculate the energetic yield like this quantity of FADH2 and this quantity of NADH2. If you remember coefficient of oxidative phosphorylation from, if respiratory chain is started from FADH2, we can obtain 2 molecules of ATP, and if long respiratory chain is started from NADH2, the energetic yield will be 3 ATPs. And remember that 1 ATP we used for the activation of fatty acids for the formation of a acyl coenzyme A. Let's calculate by this way the energetic yield of palmitate oxidation for the example. Palmitic acid has 16 carbon atoms. So it is 8 acetyl-CoA we are divided on 2. 8 we are multiplying on 12. Why? Because in citric acid cycle each acetyl-CoA will give us 3 NADH2, 1 FADH2, 1 GTP. Total it will be 12 molecules of ATP. We asked you to remember this number also, not only 24 per glucose. Glucose will give us 2 acetyl-CoA in the cleavage. 2 pyruvates will be converted to 2 acetyl-CoA. And we multiply 12 on 2 and obtain it on the third stage for the citric acid cycle for glucose, 24. Here we are calculating for 1 mole of acetyl-CoA. So from 16 carbon we can obtain 8 pieces with 2 carbon units. We are multiplying this to 12, obtaining 96 ATP. 7 cycles of beta oxidation will give us 7 FADH2, which we are multiplying on to obtain 14. 7 cycles of beta oxidation, one of the reaction dehydrogenation, second reaction of dehydrogenation, give us 7 multiplied on 3, 21 ATP. In sum, it will be 131 ATP. And we are calculating minus 1. I'm reminding you again, not minus 2, minus 1 in our calculation tasks, please. And finally, obtain 130 ATP. Compare, please, this result with the energetic yield of total oxidation of glucose. Only 36 or 38 ATP we can obtain from 1 glucose. But from fatty acid, which has 16 atoms of carbon, already 130 ATP. If you remember the structure of triacylglycerols, in the structure of triacylglycerides we have glycerin, which also can be oxidized and give small quantity of energy, and 3 residues of amino acids, 3 fatty acids. So total quantity from the oxidation of 1 mole of fat, 1 molecule of triacylglyceride, will be huge in comparison with the oxidation of glucose. Actually, if we will calculate it in calories, in the energetic units, it will be a little bit more than 1.8, near 2 times more energy we can obtain from fats in comparison with amino acids and monosaccharides. Once more, look to the principle of calculation. If in the fatty acids we have CN atoms, during beta oxidation they will be divided on 2 carbon units to the quantity which we are calculating, quantity of carbons in the acid divided on 2, it will be quantity of molecules of acetyl-CoA that are formed from it. And each of acetyl-CoA will give us 12 ATP in the citric acid cycle. It's a yield of Krebs cycle. But to obtain this quantity of molecules of coenzyme A, we did C divided on N minus 1 cycles of cleavage, cycles of beta oxidation. Last time we obtained 2, so the quantity all the time minus 1. And each cycle brings us 5 ATP. It's another method, another approach how to calculate. Already we are calculating energetic yield of beta oxidation cycle. 1 FAD 2 ATP, 1 NADH2 3 ATP, totally 5. And we can calculate the total quantity of ATP by the formula C divided on N multiplied on 12, Cn divided on 2 minus 1, it's a cycles, quantity of cycles multiplied on 5, and minus 1 spent for activation of fatty acids. Minus 1, please. There is only one difference for the non-saturated fatty acids. Non-saturated fatty acids already have double bonds in the structure. And when cycle of beta oxidation will go to the place of fatty acids where double bond is already present, the first dehydrogenation with FADH2 formation will not be done. Due to this, write this formula and write the note for this formula, that for every double bond, you need to subtract 2 ATPs because reaction with formation of FADH2 and formation of double bond at this cycle will be absent. It is easy to calculate by this way because if you will at first determine how many cycles without FAD we will have and change the number of cycles for FAD calculation, it will be 2 actions more. If you will remember that all the time we can calculate per 5 and only subtract quantity of double bonds multiplied on 2, also calculation will be correct. Look about what I'm talking. Oxidation of unsaturated fatty acids differ from saturated only by the presence of double bond in some places of non-saturated fatty acids. So we already have enoyl coenzyme A after cleavage of acetyl coenzyme A in the cycle that was before. So immediately after obtaining of enoyl, our hydration will be, then second dehydrogenation with production of NADH2 and theolytic reaction with the attachment of coenzyme A and formation of acetyl-CoA. So acetyl-CoA and shorter acyl will be formed, but we are losing the first dehydrogenation with FAD formation, FADH2 formation. You can calculate quantity of cycles, of short cycles, and add it in calculation. But for me, this pathway of calculation is a little bit more complicated. Easy to calculate per saturated and only subtract quantity of double bonds multiplied on 2, because you know that in this first dehydrogenation, FADH2 is formed, not NADH2. So non-saturated fatty acids with long chains also are oxidized in mitochondria, also after activation by formation of acyls, and also after carnitine shuttle will transfer them through the mitochondrial membrane. Only one difference: FADH2 will not be formed in the first reaction of dehydrogenation in each cycle of beta oxidation, and of course quantity of energy will be a little bit less. But between fatty acids that are attached to our dietary proteins, and sometimes for us it is necessary, we have odd numbered chain fatty acids. In odd numbered chain fatty acids, the final step of beta oxidation, pre-final step of beta oxidation, will be cleavage of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbon units, 5 carbon residue attached to coenzyme A, and thiolytic cleavage, thiolase reaction, final reaction for the beta oxidation of such acids, will lead to formation of acetyl-CoA, of course, 2 carbon units, and propionyl coenzyme A, 1, 2, 3, 3 carbon units attached to coenzyme A. Write please this, that oxidation of fatty acid with the odd number of carbon in the chain leads to the formation of the last step. 1 propionyl, 1 acetyl-CoA. With acetyl-CoA, everything understandable. It will go to the TCA and will give 12 ATPs. We already calculated this and saw this pathway. What to do with propionyl coenzyme A? It is necessary to write that for propionyl coenzyme A, we have specific pathway how to incorporate it into the oxidative processes. Let's look through this reaction and write some notes about this pathway. At first, with the help of ATP and special enzyme, which is named propionyl coenzyme A carboxylase, with the participation of carbon dioxide, yes, ion of bicarbonate. The propionyl coenzyme A will be elongated to 1 carbon, 1 carboxylic group, and we will obtain methylmalonyl coenzyme A. At first in D form, then racemase will convert it to L-methylmalonyl coenzyme A. What is the difference? Our last methyl group will be inside now methyl, and here you will see the malonic acid residue, similar to succinate, but shorter on one CH2 unit, which is here. So it's like an isomer because CH2 here, but if you remember, malonic acid is inhibitor of succinate dehydrogenase because it is similar but not the same substance. Here we are obtaining methylmalonyl coenzyme A in DOL form, which after this, with the help of methylmalonyl coenzyme A mutase, its isomerase enzyme, which is changing the position of methylmalonyl skeleton in relation to the coenzyme A residue. It's a more detailable picture that shows exchange of these radicals. And if you remember, isomerases that change in the position of groups inside of one molecules, we are naming mutases. It's like a subclass of isomerases. But it will be not incorrect to name this enzyme isomerase, but of course, correct name mutase. Put attention that for these reactions, we need in helpers, in coenzymes. Propionyl coenzyme A carboxylase has a biotin as a coenzyme. Actually, biotin already known for us enzymes. We know that carboxylation of pyruvate and formation of oxaloacetate will be performed with the help of biotin. Very soon, 2 weeks later, you will see that carboxylation of acetyl-CoA and formation of malonyl coenzyme A also require biotin. And finally, carboxylation of propionyl coenzyme A to incorporate this 3 carbon unit inside of metabolism also will be done with the help of biotin. So biotin is a coenzyme of carboxylation. our B8 vitamin, which we need to obtain with the food, which we need to obtain from our microflora in our intestine. We cannot synthesize biotin with ourselves. And the second step of formation of succinyl coenzyme A from propionyl coenzyme A, enzyme mutase require vitamin B12, cobalamin. Please, I want that you will write a short conspect of this pathway. Why? Because the absence of vitamins will be accompanied with the special symptoms, and these symptoms will be absolutely understandable if you know in what reactions what vitamins are necessary. In B12 deficiency, methylmalonic acid cannot be converted to succinyl coenzyme A and cannot be incorporated into the citric acid cycle. Succinyl coenzyme A is a normal metabolite of citric acid cycle. It can be incorporated into the citric acid cycle and through two turns be oxidized completely. Everything that is converted to oxaloacetate, can be used for gluconeogenesis. And due to this particularly rare but atoms of odd chain fatty acids, odd number chain fatty acids, can come into glucose. Mainly we are talking about fatty acids as a sources of acetyl coenzyme A, and from acetyl coenzyme A, gluconeogenesis is not possible. So if this pathway blocked by deficiency of B12, methylmalonic acid will be accumulated in the body, particularly excreted with urine, and cause change of pH of blood and urine. It is so-called methylmalonic aciduria. It's one of the reasons for the appearance of bad symptoms in B12 deficiency. In addition to anemia, the change of pH of fluids will be observed, and problems with the work of electropolar cells. It means at first order these are problems with cardiomyocytes, which are electric tissue, and of course brain. Neurological psychic symptoms can appear in addition to anemia that have another little bit mechanism, but don't forget about this. That in deficiency of B12, methylmalonic acid can be accumulated, which is formed from propionyl coenzyme A. And propionyl coenzyme A, it's a result of oxidation, of beta oxidation of fatty acids that have no even number of carbon in the chain, but odd. Finally, about which we need to talk, it's the integration of glycerol into metabolism. Glycerol metabolized mainly in liver. Why? Because the first enzyme which is necessary to activate our glycerol. Again, we are talking about activation of the molecules before usage of them for cleavage or for synthetic reaction. Look, glucose must be phosphorylated 2 times. Fatty acids must be attached to coenzyme A, to our kite. Glucose for synthesis of glycogen must be activated by the attachment to nucleoside. Same we can tell about activation of amino alcohols during phospholipid synthesis here. To use our glycerol for oxidation or for synthetic reaction, at first we need to activate it to phosphorylate it. So glycerol 3-phosphate, it's an active form of glycerol, and this reaction will be done with the help of enzyme which is named glycerol kinase. Small mistake here, glycerol kinase. Unfortunately, this enzyme is present only in liver. So metabolism of glycerol and its phosphorylation will be done in liver. After this, look that we are using ATP here. So if we will calculate the yield of oxidation of glycerol, don't forget to take 1 ATP for activation here also. After this, glycerol 3-phosphate with the help of glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, you know this enzyme also from glycerol phosphate shuttle mechanism, will be converted to phosphodioxyacetone or hydroxyacetone phosphate. This already is metabolite of glycolysis. So if you want to oxidize glycerol through these reactions and conversion to hydroxyacetone phosphate, glycerol can be incorporated into the glycolysis. What will be done with hydroxyacetone phosphate? It must be isomerized by triiosophosphate isomerase to phosphoglyceric aldehyde, then second stage of glycolysis where the formation of NADH2 will be, then two reactions of substrative phosphorylation will be, then conversion to pyruvate to acetyl-CoA to citric acid cycle, and final, if you will calculate all of the formatted on this pathway, NADH2, FADH2, ATP, GTP, and calculate -1 for activation of glycerol, you will obtain 20-22 ATP molecules that is possible to obtain even from glycerol in liver. 20 or 22 will depend from the shuttle mechanism for the cytosolic NADH2 that are formed twice during oxidation of glucose. But also this type of activation of glycerol 3-phosphate can give us active form for the synthetic reaction. Liver, as we started today, our discussion is the great site of synthesis of lipids in our body. So, for the synthesis of triacylglycerides and phospholipids, we need to have active form of glycerol 3-phosphate. So, after its formation, if state allows, it means if we are feeling well and there is excess of glucose and we can convert it to the fatty acids, these fatty acids and glycerol 3-phosphate are used for the synthesis of at first phosphatidic acid, we will talk about this pathway, and then synthesis of phospholipids or triacylglycerides, which will not be stored in liver, which will be packed after this to the lipoprotein particles, and these lipoproteins will supply peripheral tissue with these fats, maybe for storage also, maybe for further oxidation. Then dihydroxyacetone phosphate can be incorporated into the ascending pathway, gluconeogenesis. So the part of fats, like a glycerol, we can use also in the process of gluconeogenesis. Glycerol, one of the substrate for gluconeogenesis, but of course only in liver, because only in liver glycerol kinase is present and we can phosphorylate our glycerol. So integration of glycerol into metabolism is accompanied with the action of glycerol kinase and glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. After this, dihydroxyacetone phosphate can undergo further oxidation and glycolysis or can be used for synthetic reaction, gluconeogenesis or synthesis of triacylglycerols and phospholipids. This will be done in liver. Put attention to this. Mainly we finished with catabolism of lipids. Thank you for your attention. Wait you on the new lectures next Tuesday and Friday. Be happy. Goodbye.